Okay, R3, we need to do some preparations for our surreal project. You need to choose an approach, and let's take a look at some different approaches for surrealism, and then you could choose which one you want to use and start getting your ideas going. So we will take a look at the different approaches and then plan it out and do a rough sketch. But let's get into the approaches. So first one is dislocation, or it's also called displacement. It's basically if you take an object and put it somewhere where it's not supposed to be. It's really nice when you kind of blend it into that environment. But yeah, it's pretty much you just take something out of where it's supposed to be. So as we can see here, we have this little forest of teapot and mugs. Obviously, mugs and teapots don't grow at the tops of trees. But this was the artist approach here, and this is a perfectly legitimate way of doing a surreal piece of art. I like how they have the little leaf thing hanging here as if it was a tea bag. That's cool. Now, okay, juxtaposition. We've worked with juxtaposition before at the very beginning of the year, and a little bit with our last project too. It's kind of taking something ordinary, making it look extraordinary by kind of pairing it together, especially when you combine images together. And my favorite way to do it is a clever way where we blend things together. So it makes sense that you could take the idea of a hammock and blend it into a banana peel because they're similar in shape. It makes sense to kind of carve out this little the meat of the banana into a human head because I guess its skin tone is kind of similar to that of the banana. But yeah, so you kind of combine things together in an interesting blended way, and that'll create your juxtaposition. Levitation is simple enough to remember. It's when things are floating and things that shouldn't be floating are floating. Levitation is really fun to do with photography, but we can also do it in our class together if you want, if that's your approach. Transformation. Now, this is pretty much what we worked with our metamorphosis. We transformed one object into another. And again, I always think it's really smart to do it with things that kind of cleverly blend together. So it would make sense for this tree to kind of blend into an arm and hand, and for the fingers especially to kind of blend into branches. That makes sense because the forearm could be like the tree trunk, and then the fingers could be like the tree branches. That makes sense because they splay out. Okay, transparency is also one that's simple enough to remember. It's just the ability to kind of see through an object that you wouldn't normally see through. Okay, scale is really fun to work with when you mess with the size and proportion of stuff. Making things that they shouldn't be. So here, clearly, we have an egg, and we have like little workers working on the egg, digging for gold or something. And people can't stand on an egg; we're too big for that. But by scaling all the way down, we created sort of a humorous effect. Finally, we have double images. I'm not gonna lie, I think this is probably the hardest one to do. I don't think I've ever done a double image. It's where you combine different objects together and you can see two different scenes at the same time, depending on your focus. So if you look at this one, you might at first see an old man's head with his beard and his old gray hair. If you kind of change your perspective, you'll realize that there's a man riding on a horse looking at a woman lying on the floor. Here we have a portrait of a woman, but then if you change your perspective, you'll look at basically a nice bouquet of flowers, of calla lilies. Here, you might first see the woman and man staring at each other, but if you change focus and perspective, you'll see um, the guy playing guitar and a girl looking at him, and a girl climbing through a little doorway over there. Here you see like the woman's earring, and it actually ends up being like a bottle. So yeah, double images are really fun, but they can be kind of tricky to do. If you could do a double image, more power to you. So for your assignment, Art 3, you got to tell me which approach do you want to take for this surreal project. Do you want to do something with juxtaposition? Do you want to do another transformation? Do you want to do something with levitation or scale or double images? Let me know. Tell me. And then tell me your idea. If you could describe it, that would be fantastic. Please, please, please take a couple sentences and describe it. And then finally, let's do a quick sketch. Just a quick sketch, rough. We don't need to do the rough draft yet. Just a sketch so I could see how this is playing out in your mind. And you may need to gather some reference pictures for yourself, so go ahead and do that on your own. But yeah, take a picture, insert it, and please upload this assignment when you're done. Answer your questions and do that sketch and turn it in.